Hi, this is Allison, host of the I Hate Trolleys podcast by Eternal Recurrence. Thanks for tuning in to our 4th episode. As a quick disclaimer, this podcast is not focused on teaching philosophy, but rather helping get our listeners through the door on what philosophy can be through a quick diluted taste of it in a digestible and approachable manner. As a ground rule, we do not assume that our audience knows anything about any of this. In episode 4, I, along with my guests of the week, Olivia, Victoria, and Joy, tackle the idea of antinatalism and what it means to be an antinatalist. We also cover topics such as what it means to be a woman, the oddities of America, free will, and why philosophy is valuable. As a side note, our mic was pointed at me in this episode, and we didn't realize until after recording that it picked up my voice much more than the others, so sorry if I blare into your ears a bit. We'll try to edit that out as much as we can. All timestamps will be included in the description. Thanks again for tuning into this podcast. I hope you enjoy.
You're soprano, we're altos.
No, but you can beatbox, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you can do the beatboxing. I'll do a little... Oh yeah, I'll make some notes. You'll do some humming. Victoria, what about you?
I don't know, I've got to put my soprano skills to use. I could do like a falsetto, like, ooh.
You can be the lead, the melody, and we'll just be the backup.
Okay, ready?
We're doing the acapella.
Give me a second, I have bread in my teeth. Wait,
Oh my god,
I have
too
no
faster.
conception of what this is supposed to sound like.
Okay, I'm good.
You're good? We're good?
I don't know if I'm prepared for this. Maybe I just
Drink
have
like a
something.
hamster.
Speak. I can cut that off afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Welcome to Eternal Recurrence. I hate trolleys. Woo! Clap, 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 clap. Yeah. Oh my god, guys, that's so loud.
Yeah,
that's-
you bust the listeners' ears.
Joy, shut up. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to this is episode 4 of I Hate Trolleys. I am joined by what do I call you guys? OVAG. That's us. That is Olivia, Victoria, Allison, me, and Joy. Joy, welcome back. Joy's just beatboxing. Joy, welcome back to the podcast. Victoria, Olivia, you guys are new.
Hi.
Yeah, say hi to the masses, Olivia. Come on. Victoria, say hi. There we go. Yeah, so we can do a little introduction. If you guys listened to episode 1, Joy has already introduced herself. And so have I, multiple times. So I think it's just up to you two. Do you guys want to say who you are? A little bit about yourself? Literally anything? Yeah.
I'm Victoria. I go to school with Allison.
Yep.
And I'm graduating this year.
It's so freaky.
Yeah.
We're all graduating this year.
I'm an old woman.
Yeah.
Old hag.
almost 18. It's crazy.
Horrific. I'm a crone.
Olivia, you?
Yes, my name is Olivia. I also am in grade 12 with Allison and Joy and Victoria.
That's it? Yeah. Fun fact?
Fun fact, half my family lives in Australia.
That's a lie. That's not even true. That's a lie.
That provides you nothing.
Come on, Olivia.
Fun fact, slightly dark fact.
Uh-oh.
I have about a nickel-sized hole in my skull.
Ooh.
I did not know this.
Remember surgery,
Oh, yeah. They just left it there?
Yeah?
Also, wait, can you put your hand through it? Or is
It's
it
not that
under your
big.
skin?
You can
Like, can you feel it? Oh my god, that's so cool.
You cannot feel it.
Isn't there like fluid leaking in and out of there? Or is it just fine?
I mean, the fluid's supposed to circulate, I think.
Wait, like it circulates out?
I was
Like,
under the
underneath?
impression that there was like fluid in the skull and then fluid...
Well, there's like a membrane.
Oh, so the membrane
It's
grew
the
back.
skin and the skull, and then there's the fluid inside the skull.
But if you like hit the same spot, is it gonna be like absolutely fucked?
I had a guy ask me if he punched the back of my skull, would it cave in?
Yeah, I want to know.
Probably.
Good
A
question.
little off button.
Oh yeah, you press it, it just like shuts off.
Powers down.
Oh my god. Okay, let's get to it. So today's episode is on antinatalism. I'll say that pretty loosely because we'll just see how this goes. We don't really have like a plan, but I think we could just talk about the topic as a whole. In general, I think that this philosophy is becoming more and more popular, just especially for people our age. Just with the state of our world right now, climate change, wars, the world feels like it's ending. We're like, every single day I look on the news and it's a new crisis I have to care about. I don't think it's totally crazy for me to be like, hey, let's consider the ramifications of having a kid right now. I am so absolutely stressed. Do I want to bring someone else into this?
A good starting question.
Oh, so deep.
Yeah, go for it. Just anything.
I think I think that like also like you mentioning the news and stuff, it could also just be an aspect of, you know, the media dramatizing
things for sure.
Dramatizing things. Like I think the state of the world right now is probably always pretty the same. I think it's just with media you're learning about more things. Like people in the 1800s with no media, they obviously don't know what's going on like in Ukraine and Russia and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
You know, like,
your life is limited to like
to your
the
little,
5 people you live with.
Yeah, your little village.
Your little village.
So
And now we get everything from everywhere.
yeah, so that could play a factor. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe it's the world's not getting worse, but we're just learning more about the bad things.
But one could argue that heightened awareness of like all of the bad elements of the world, even if they aren't increasing on like an upward trajectory, so to speak, could still lead to a more informed decision on whether or not to give birth. Because like if I was a peasant, I didn't understand what the bubonic plague was. Everybody was just dying for no reason. I'd be like, yeah, I'll just have a kid and see what happens. Like, I don't know. But now, if the bubonic plague was currently happening, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I don't want my kid to like go through a life of hardship and misery with this horrific disease hanging over their shoulders. So I just think that a heightened awareness of like the world itself is leading to more people choosing not to have kids, and perhaps that is a more rational and informed decision because of that fact.
Yeah, I heard like I don't know, recently that, like, why is my voice doing that? Do you hear it?
Just give a little cough. A little, yeah.
All the music today.
Take your time, dude.
Okay. No, it's still doing. It's fine. I heard like kind of recently that like the idea that as quality of life goes up, birth rate goes down, and I don't know. I heard it like characterized as kind of like a bad thing, but I don't necessarily see why. Because like with like as Victoria said, if people are able to make more informed decisions about whether or not they have a kid, and with the upwards quality of life, like women mostly are able to like take control over the decision whether they want to have the kid, like with access to like increased like contraception and like stuff like that, then I don't necessarily see like why people exercising the decision not to have a kid is like such a bad thing.
Yeah. I also I recognize the fact that like a lot of the times when I say that like very broadly that I'm an antinatalist, I identify as an antinatalist, the immediate response is very much like hold your horses, like this, like what? Like, are you kidding? And I think that's also because a lot of people are under the impression, and maybe that some people hold this belief, but I certainly do not, that antinatalism sort of asserts that it's just death is always preferable. You know, if you don't want to have kids because like death is preferable to living, like for your child, why don't you just go kill yourself right now? Does that mean we should just all walk off into the sunset and kill ourselves? And I'm like, okay, hold your horses, mister. I don't see it as like, and I'm not saying that like anybody is morally reprehensible for having a child. Do your thing. Me saying I'm an antinatalist is not telling everybody else that they should be an antinatalist. It's just a personal belief. It's just, for me, I think that the cons of having a child often outweigh the pros. Maybe I should ask you guys, you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable or if you don't want to. Like, do you guys identify as an antinatalist? Why or why not?
Do you think there could be a difference between antinatalist and personally I don't want kids? Because I feel like having like slapping the title on it just makes it a little bit different as a concept in my brain for some reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I can say, oh, personally I don't want kids, but that doesn't mean I'm an antinatalist. Do you know what I mean? That's just my own personal like what I've weighed out in my own mind, but I don't think that's like a big what's it called? School of thought that we should all be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I just search it up right now, it says the definition that just pops up on Wikipedia. Antinatalism is the ethical view that negatively values procreation. Antinatalists argue that humans should abstain from procreation because it is morally wrong.
Yeah, so I don't think procreation is morally wrong, or like making kids morally wrong. I just personally don't want kids.
Maybe I am not an antinatalist.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a really big, broad, overall statement. I think it's it's pretty not radical, but pretty like out there, because by being an antinatalist, it says on the Wikipedia, right?
Mhm.
Humans in general shouldn't have kids.
Yeah.
Right. By then, that means they're saying everyone else, like, we all shouldn't have kids.
I think
That's wrong.
for me, I don't know if this is warped, you guys can tell me if it is. I think if I have a kid, I see it as morally reprehensible for me to do that. If other people have a kid, whatever, have a kid. Do your thing, slay.
Then is that still antinatalism?
I think that still is, because I mean, you could apply that logic to a lot of different like beliefs, whether they be religious, philosophical, social, whatever. And I think we as a society, we have the tendency to expect almost radical behavior from people who hold beliefs that we're not familiar with, as a way for them to like prove their own adherence to said beliefs. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very I think it's good if you hold certain beliefs and don't push them on other people, no matter what they could be. And I don't think that judging others for a lifestyle that you don't personally agree with morally ever means that you're more or less of a believer in something, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's like still antinatalism.
Yeah.
You're not like going around killing other people's babies.
No, that might be a little bit of a problem, wouldn't it?
I think it just depends on like, because I'm not really sure, is antinatalism like a way of thinking, or is it like some like, if it's like some cult you subscribe to, I know it's not, right? But then it makes things different, you know what I mean? Because like the ism just like confuses me whether it's like,
I think that applies for like a lot of things. Like when you start to slap a title on things, you also it's also often under the impression that you might subscribe to like the extreme aspects of it, which I don't think is the case for me. I don't think it's like insane for me to be like, hey, like having a kid might be a little funky in this current political and just worldly climate right now. Just I encourage people to consider that. If they don't want to, that's fine. Have a kid. I will give it a little kiss.
I'm not gonna have a kid after this. I really want a kiss from Allison. Or yeah.
You don't want a kiss from me?
No. Especially not my kid.
Yeah, I think that kind of like just kind of like bring it back to something you said before. I think so something Allison said before, because no one can see me pointing. I think that the conflation that a lot of people have with antinatalism and just like, why don't we just kill ourselves right now, is flawed in my opinion, but I do understand why people hold that belief, because
For sure.
I think that there is a very prevalent notion in this society, I hate that I keep saying that, that conflates childbirth with like the carrying of like a life of its own. It's carrying on your family line. So if you don't have children, then you die twice. Because not only do you personally die, you stop breathing, whatever, but your line dies, your name dies, and somehow that's a lot of weight is put on that fact. And there's a lot of sorrow associated with that, and that also ties into to one of the reasons why parents don't like to have female daughters or only daughters and no sons, because they want men to carry on this name that they've associated with their family as if it's somehow this like spiritual marker of who they are. And yeah, I find that interesting.
Yeah, I think that sentiment's also really common in like the abortion rights debate too, when you talked about like, oh well, if we're not giving birth to babies, why don't we all kill ourselves right now? They're making that like comparison between like already living human lives and these unborn babies that are like completely unborn. They're not even like a fetus yet. So I think it's also interesting how those are parallel, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I get a lot of people, whenever I say I'm an antinatalist or whatever, a lot of people come to me and they're like, that's so pessimistic. Do you just hate yourself? Are you that emo? And like, if you know me, you know that this is so disgusting, but just give me a moment. Like, I genuinely love life. I'm a happy person, and I'm like very proud to be able to say that. Like, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am today, but I think that in general, I can say I live a happy life. You know, I'm doing the things I like. I surrounded people that I love. Like, I don't have a lot of issues that, or not anymore, that I've just kind of gotten out of the way. I've grown up a bit. And I don't think me saying, like, consider antinatalism is, like, a pessimistic thing and be like, oh, don't have kids, emo, cut off your life, whatever. If anything, I think it's more of a sympathy thing, or, like, your kid might suffer a little bit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still a pessimism thing, which isn't a bad thing. It's not like
Yeah, no worries. Right? Yeah.
Like, I think a pessimism thing because you don't have you don't really have trust in the world that your kid is gonna have a good life, right?
It's for me. If I'm gonna like outline my like line of thinking or my logic here, I'm very aware that like due to my position and my privilege, if I have a child, the potential of horrible things happening to the child is a lot lesser than those who might not be in my position or aren't as privileged, right? Let's say I have a baby. I come from a wealthy family. I think, like, let's say I had one right now, okay? Right now, pop out a baby, okay? I can adequately provide for that baby, or at least my parents will help me do that. I have a home. I will likely be able to raise it if I choose to or whatever. And just in general, just because first world country, that's where I am, I get an education, a good one, right? On top of that, the potential goes down of, things happening to the child, or as you were saying, that maybe I should have more trust in the world that nothing will happen to this child. But I think for me, the potential at all for a child to live a horrible life, which will always exist because I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. I could have a child and then die. Maybe my whole family dies. Something happens to the child. I don't know. Anything could happen, right? Really, really anything could happen. A war breaks out, nuclear war breaks out, right? Which is something also that we are having to consider now. I'm never ever going to know what happens. There's always going to be a percent chance, right, that horrible things will happen to this child. Maybe they live a horrible life, the most horrible life even, right? Who knows? I think that percentage of at all, if it exists, I can't buy into the possibility of having a child. I see it as like sort of Russian roulette, right? I have no idea if the shot is going to fire or not.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think that's more of a personal aspect of antinatalism.
Yeah.
But I think people on the more like, I'm a complete antinatalist side, believe it's just not having babies and completely stopping the human race is a way for the planet to heal itself. I think that's a different aspect of antinatalism. I think that's the bigger main concept of antinatalism.
What do you guys think of that?
Like the environment and stuff. Like we've ruined.
Stop having kids because better for everything.
Yeah. Like have you seen those movies where it's like post-apocalyptic and like the environment's going back to normal?
Yeah, the world's flourishing again.
The world's, like with Thanos and stuff also plays with that concept kind of like in what's it called? I love Marvel, but
Endgame. Yeah.
So that
I think that's. So you go. You speak. Okay, you can go. No, you go.
Okay, I don't really. Okay, my thoughts are gonna be like word salad at this point. But anyways, I think that I'm kind of like, just like working it around in my mind, and like one viewpoint that I can see people having, it's like if we're talking about just like the earth, like plants, and like I don't know, I'm looking at some vines right now. And whatnot, with like allowing those to flourish and allowing like plants and trees and stuff to grow back and like take out cities. I'm wondering if that's like prioritizing an anti like sentient being, if we're thinking that plants aren't sentient over something that we know is sentient, like being humans ourselves. And then we bring in like animals and like are animals sentient? Because I have proof that like humans are like conscious. Being that I have a consciousness myself, but like, are animals conscious? Are animals able to like really feel pain? Or are they just like expressing like a survival instinct?
Then we delve into the whole mind-body problem. Like you can't measure consciousness.
And then I'm like, okay, but like, are we actually like? Let's assume worst case, like plants are dead. Animals don't have feelings. Should we allow those to flourish like over a human population? And I think that. Like, we're not necessarily, like, harming humans actively if we're not creating new ones.
Yeah.
Like, humans will live out to their, like, regular end of their lifespan, whatever, they'll die. There won't be anyone to, like, actually feel the pain, I guess, unless you're, like, the last person alive. But still, that's, like, really, really, like, small, like, an exception minority. But, like, we aren't actively, like, harming anyone who's able to, like, experience that pain in order for, like, plants and perhaps the chance that animals do have feelings are able to flourish instead.
But I think there's always going to be that top predator or top thing that will inflict pain onto like the animals lower than it. So I don't really see why we should all like die off when there's gonna be like a lion who like eats something alive. You know what I mean? Like I know there's probably a difference in like the structures of how we like abuse animals and the environment and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in the end there's still like going to be negative impacts of the next top sentient being, right? So why should we like? I feel like it's kind of selfish in a way, but like why should we like die off if something else is just gonna take over? Right?
I don't see it as like a prioritizing, maybe I should, but prioritizing like the environment. I see it as more like an empathy for each other, like a let's care for each other and let's stop having kids. You know, there's like so much suffering in this world. Let's not like play into that anymore. Maybe that's like the kind things to do. And I think I say that more out of love for the human race and like genuine adoration I have for people, and not wanting to have like people have to suffer compared to like maybe like plants will rule. If that makes sense. I don't know if
Yeah, so I think you're putting like suffering over like happiness and stuff, you know what I mean? Because like if you think there's more suffering than happiness, then that means we should end it. But if there's more happy than suffering.
Yeah, I've been asked this before, sort of, well, what about like the happy life? You're living the happy life. Isn't it great? You don't want to die. No, I do not want to die, right? I just think that back to the potentiality thing, back to that percentage thing, the potentiality of so much suffering outweighs any potential happiness, I think, for me. And I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little conflicted because I think about, you know, beauty only exists when it's being like beholden or whatever. Sometimes I think about that, like, I don't know, things that I love most, they only exist because they're able to be experienced by us. And, you know, not having kids or telling everybody to stop having kids would also be sacrificing that. But I think sacrificing, like, getting rid of pain altogether and just nobody has to experience anything would be preferable.
I think that also, I did this debate.
Of course.
Joy, you probably did it with me. It's based on The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. I think that's the right one, where it's like there's like a utopia, everyone's living happy, and there's like a child that's like suffering. But like ignoring the child, which is just kind of bad, but just the concept of like people not feeling pain or suffering at all. I feel like because like I don't know, like in debate, you have to like think of all the different like possible arguments that you can make.
Yeah.
One thing that we came across was that the idea that like suffering is just as important to the human experience as like joy and like happiness is.
Yeah.
Even disregarding like you can't feel happiness without pain, just like pain is just an experience that is vital to the human like life. But then also, how are you going to tell a person that's like deeply in suffering that your suffering is really valid and you're just experiencing happy things right now and good things right now, if they're like actively in pain and like how are you to tell a person that? I feel like there's an element of like the human, like what you said before, like sympathy to like consider.
I also think that like from your description of your position, from Allison's description of their
position,
to make it clear, I understand it a lot more, I think, and I'm able to conceptualize it a lot better, especially because, like, from purely a numbers perspective, like, yeah, we're having way too many kids. Like, every country on Earth is just producing so many children, and just, like, the numbers keep on climbing and climbing, and we're already running out of resources. So, like, we're gonna run into a problem. We are running into problems, and I think a lot of people don't view childbirth with the correct weight and responsibility that I think it should be entangled with, especially people who are deeply religious, because a lot of religions just prioritize giving birth to as many babies as possible, and there are like anthropological reasons for that, obviously. But at the end of the day, it is a lot more compassionate and kind, I think, to at least attempt to lower the amount of babies being produced, because the majority of those babies are going to experience horrific things, and the horror is just going to increase the more babies that are put out. And I hope that like has some bearing on this conversation. I don't know. It's just like overpopulation is an issue.
Could you have the argument, for example, I think you mentioned, Allison, you mentioned before how like isn't like having happiness worth any pain that you have. but also like if we're just looking at, I don't know if this can be quantified, but like the net amount of happiness that people experience in the world. If we're having, like, if there are less babies being made, if there's less people, then there's probably going to be resources. Could you consider that the people who are living are going to be happier than if everyone's just, like, majorly suffering because they're all, like, starving and, like, having droughts and stuff? So you'd have a more, like, larger net amount of happiness than if you, like, had all those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that, like, you kind of put happiness with the amount of resources, which is probably true, right? Like, if you're fucking starved, I mean, if you're starving...
You're all good, you can cuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're starving and stuff, you're not going to be happy, I don't think, right? But I think also, happiness also probably comes from other places too, other than just the amount of resources you have. But that's also probably a really privileged way of thinking about it, because a lot of people's suffering does come from purely resource problems. Yeah.
I'll acknowledge Olivia's comment first, and then I definitely want to talk about the privilege aspect. I think that's an important thing we need to talk about. So what if we have less kids and there's a lot less people, more resources, more net amount of happiness? Not good enough for me. I think it would be a very hard choice for me to make, but I still think the percentage still exists, right? What if they get eaten by a tiger? Okay, well that one's like a little unrealistic. But I think of all the horrible things humans do to each other, and just can't buy into it. And I think it's totally fine if people want to have kids. If they think I'm literally off my rocker, it's okay. The privilege thing. Is antinatalism a very privileged opinion to have or a belief to hold? I think about you can afford to hold this opinion, right? You know, I'm in Canada, I can get an abortion if I want to. Is it morally reprehensible for me to have a child because that's what I've been taught, you know?
I think also, like, on the privilege thing, I think it's also, like, cultural too, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I know in China, remember when there was, like, the one-child policy thing?
Yeah.
People would literally just throw their baby girls in the dumpster because they need, like, poor families need a son to, like, take care of them when they're older and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That's, like, a really privileged perspective that you don't need kids to, you know, pay for some of your things or, like, you know, take care of you when you're older. Because a lot of people, they don't have really good retirement funds. They don't have, you know, money saved up just in case, you know, they need to retire early, or if they, like, have, like, hospital bills and stuff like that. So I think children are a large part of, like, just relying on family is a really big part of privilege and stuff.
And for a lot of people, your value is based off of how many kids you can pump out, right? If you can have kids, right? I think it's a privileged take maybe that for us to be like, no, like, or like I don't think so. Like, I do not think this. But for antinatalists or like hardcore antinatalists to be like, that's so morally reprehensible of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that there's a tie to education as well. And obviously there's like the autonomy aspect, which was already mentioned. Like, I don't know, if I'm like a child bride somewhere, I'm not really going to, or like any bride that doesn't have rights, I'm not really going to be able to be like, yeah, like, you know what, I don't really want kids because I'm going to have kids whether I want to or not, unless I'm infertile. But also a lot of people don't have access to education. All they've ever been taught is that you're supposed to pump out babies, and if you don't pump out babies, then you are morally reprehensible because you're bringing shame on your family, and you're not fulfilling your duties as like a female-born person.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big aspect of antinatalism is like feminist, and a lot of antinatalists, at least the ones that I've interacted with, are women who kind of like skew in a very radical opposite direction, where they're like, well, fuck you, I don't want any kids then. And it's like very much like a reactionary thing. Not saying that that's bad, like I support you and you're right to do whatever you want. And obviously that's not all antinatalists, but I think antinatalism is like a part of antinatalism stems from that, like very angry rebuttal to that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's kind of a possible distinction or a possible argument for a non-distinction to be made here. So I remember like the definition that you read earlier, Allison read earlier, of antinatalism. It was talking about like how it's not, the belief that it's not like morally correct or morally just or something to have a child. And I think that that can be different than perhaps what a lot of people are making today as to their personal decision as to not have a kid, like, includes all those other, like, factors, like, they, like, don't feel they can support one, they don't feel like it'd be, like, good for them, they, like, you know, aren't just, like, ready, they don't want to go through, like, the physical, like, burden of having to bear a child, and I think that is, or it seems, like, intuitively to me kind of different than the moral idea that it is not good to bring a child into this world. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think I agree, like, it's a really big difference between antinatalists who are doing it for themselves and for the greater good, I think. Like, I kind of think there's a very clear distinction between I personally don't want kids and I think, like, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we've talked about kind of, you know, like, oh, good for the environment. That's not really like a I personally don't want kids type of thing. It's a more of a I'm doing this for the greater good. You know what I mean? It's not like for personal gain. I think there's two different, like, very different ideas within antinatalism.
Yeah.
To kind of, like, expand on what I meant before, I was getting at that, but I forgot to, like, tack that on at the end. I think, like, the prevalent, like, this is just what I've come across, like, online and stuff. The prevalent idea with, like, feminist antinatalism specifically is the view that it's morally reprehensible to have children because it demeans women down to, like, a silent laborer is, like, the term that's used a lot, or, like, an unpaid laborer, where there's this idea that laboring around the house, laboring as, like, delivering a baby, taking care of it, whatever, is a form of labor in and of itself, but it's not valued by society and you're not paid for it. So there's some people say that it's slavery. I don't know if I'd go that far.
I would not go that
far. But there's definitely, it's, like, a bit dramatic, but there's definitely this, like, overarching view that antinatalism is a way to, like, emancipate oneself from, like, this patriarchal constraint of, like, a silent laborer. So, yeah.
I guess if we're also comparing, like, the moral view, and the, like, personal, like, just, like, how's, like, what are your situations, like, what is the context of your life, I guess you could see some overlap if we do stakeholders. So I guess you could categorize it into, like, the, like, child bearer themselves, the, like, actual, like, potential child, like, what is their life gonna look like, and also just, like, everyone else potentially, like, how is the world going to be impacted by that child being born, how's the world going to impact that child. And so if we, like, look at the personal stuff, I think that that's where the distinction comes in between, like, the child bearer themselves, like, how's it going to affect their life, stuff like that. But then I think where the overlap starts to come in with the moral and, like, the context-based things is with the child and the overall, like, world in general. Because, like, if you, like, understood that, like, perhaps you weren't able to support a child or that child wouldn't have a good life if they started existing, it seems kind of similar to, like, also the moral idea that you don't want to subject another living being to pain, so you just going to ensure that it doesn't exist in the first place.
That's good.
Little debate spiel.
Stakeholders.
To kind of flip things, do you think it's a hot take for me to be like, a lot more women presenting, or whatever, females are able to empathize, sympathize, understand my perspective when I say it, compared to men. A lot of men think I'm literally off my fucking rocker for saying this. And to me, that's always pointed at the fact that the female experience is so vastly different compared to the male one, that I feel like a lot of times when I'm trying to explain it to men, it's like they don't really understand what it means to hold the belief as a person who can have a kid as a female.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I feel like there would be many females who already have kids who'd be very against antinatalism.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know those mothers who are, like, obsessed with their kids. It's the only thing that brings them joy. It saves their relationship, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, I think they would be more against what you say than men, because they don't have that personal motherly love attachment to their kids that men don't really have. You know what I mean?
I think an interesting aspect, though, is, like, the social currency that kids bring, and I think that's what those women experience is, like, you mentioned, like, saving relationships, and it's, I think in a lot of those situations, it's like, I have my kid, maybe I'm a stay-at-home mom, maybe I don't have a lot of money, maybe my husband is really demanding and, like, rude and, like, kind of chauvinistic, and, like, this kid is kind of, like, a token of what I provide for him, and, like, something that I can finally have that isn't his. And I think a lot of, like, especially older women view childbirth that way. But to kind of, like, add on to Allison's point, I definitely think that when I think about having kids, the idea of having a daughter is just so horrific to me. Not because I like hate women, but because I'd always be so worried about her, and I just like cry. Like, I don't know, like, I'd be so worried, and like there's so many horrific things that happen to women or like female presenting people, and just like the process of like growing up and being a teenage girl in general is like really awful. In just like an existential kind of way.
I think the whole mother-daughter relationship, there's so much to like
and
unpack
it works,
there as well.
Especially like in a relationship between a mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think like, obviously I don't like hate women, but like from that perspective, just thinking of having a daughter, like I don't want a daughter, because I think that would just bring me so much pain.
I also cannot imagine like, I don't know how parents do it, honestly, having a kid, sending them out into the world.
Yeah.
And just the idea of, like, seeing them hurt, right? And it's like, the person I love most in the entire world is hurt, can't do anything about it. This is something we talked about, like, last episode with Andrea. Just how absolutely horrific that is. Like, I do not have that capacity. I think it would tear me to literally pieces. I would not be able to handle it. And just in addition to that, like, I don't think I'm good enough of a person to have a kid, right? Like, it takes a huge amount of self-confidence to have a child. I don't have that. Oh my God. Like, everybody's flawed. Nobody is perfect. I can't imagine raising a kid and passing my own flaws onto them, and fuck, I've created, what is this, another me? And they're just as annoying as I am. Oh, no. And as a person who buys into, John Locke's theory of the mind is a blank slate, so, whatever you imprint onto the mind is blah, blah, blah.
Tabula rasa.
Yeah, tabula rasa. The idea of raising a kid and having that much, being able to mold someone, having that power to, like, shape them is so intimidating and so frightening. I could not.
Also,
really could not.
The responsibility.
I cannot, yeah.
If they turn out fucked up, that's like your fault.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's you. That's all your fault.
Right? And like, it's really obvious when a kid is fucked up because of their parents, and you instantly think like, oh, your mom is a bad person.
And this is, sorry if I'm regurgitating some stuff from episode 3, but I was talking with Andrea about how no kid comes unscathed because no parent is perfect, right? And that's not me dogging on parents. Of course, nobody's perfect, but no kid comes unscathed, right? Every kid gets problems. Every kid inevitably will have like parental issues or whatnot, and yeah.
Why does every single kid have like not bad parents, but like just parent issues? If parents are like supposed to be the most like caring,
because they're just
like,
people. They're really just people.
I think it's also just like the growing pains of being a teenager, and like the amount of power that you're able to inflict on your kid when they become like an actual person and not just like a dumb little baby.
Yeah,
really changes, and it's really bad between daughters and moms. It's just
there's a lot of like
being a woman. I love that.
Strange like relationship things that are reflected from like society, how society views women, and like relationships between mothers and daughters, like moms who see the daughters as like competition.
Oh, that's so weird. Yeah,
like,
we can talk about that.
Moms, yeah.
And like the whole idea of like your daughter steals your beauty, and it's like having a daughter makes you more ugly because like in your womb she like steals your youth. That's like a full thing.
Yeah.
It's like multiple women have said this to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just wait until you have a daughter. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to realize that she took everything from you. And I'm like
resenting your daughter, but at the same time, your whole value as a woman is based off having a child. Yeah. It's expected of you to have a child. If you're not, because that's a big part of being a woman. We talked about this in episode 3 again. Whatever. You guys get it. Being a woman is about being sacrificial, right? That's what, a lot of times, that's what your beauty is derived from. They want to see you sacrifice yourself for others, for men sometimes, right? I want to see a woman at my feet trying to fix me, trying to change me. I want her to give up her life for me. And for a child, I think this also plays into it. It's like a linked thing. For like women, having a child is horrifying. First of all, oh my God, having a child is horrifying. It's sacrificing your body, potentially sacrificing your life. but at the same time, that's like required of you.
Yeah.
It's like a whole backwards thing because then you have a child and then you're mom and suddenly that's not attractive.
Mhm.
Question mark. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole thing to be said about just like living as like a woman.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like mothers who put their sons on pedestals and stuff like that.
Ugh.
There's these whole like dynamics that all stem from a lot of internalized misogyny from mothers, I feel like, or just misogyny in general, like from
Externalized misogyny.
Externalized too.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think it's like a thing that gets like passed down, you know, like it's an effect of the system, I guess I would say. It just keeps going round and round and round and round. You're getting nowhere.
Yeah. And I think that's why so many people are threatened, like especially older people who like have been just like shoved into the system and like learn how to work within it. I think that's why so many people are threatened by like new discussions of gender and like how we perceive gender and how people express gender, because in a truly genderless society, or a society that doesn't place such strict gender rules on its inhabitants, why would you have a child? And like that's a whole other question. Like if there isn't that social obligation, if you're not programmed to want to have a child from birth as a little girl, and you're not told over and over again that if you don't have a child you're selfish and you're worthless and your parents are going to be disappointed in you, then why would you ever want to endure that? And like some people will be like, oh yeah, I love my children, they're the best things ever, and like I'm very happy for them and I'm glad that they found that happiness. But I think a big aspect of childbirth in general is just like the social conditioning aspect of it.
So you think without social conditioning we wouldn't want to have kids?
Of course, yeah. I think like very few people would have kids if we weren't conditioned to want kids and we had access to abortion, birth control, and like all that other stuff.
I don't know, because I feel like, because this is where education comes in, right? But there's like the primal urge to like fuck, right? In your hormones,
Ew.
right? Like it's.
But that's what Victoria's
Literally
saying.
convulsing with horror.
If we have access to birth
Yeah.
control, contraceptives.
Yeah, but I think there's also like inside, like most people, right? Like
Yeah.
they want to have kids because like it feels like, also another question, like fulfilling their duty to society.
Yeah.
Like people see women, right, which is obviously not right, as like just baby makers who will continue the human race.
Yeah.
But like, is it then unethical to not continue the human race? Because like, it's fun, it's human race.
Here's where my circular thinking comes into place. And
Yeah.
this is going to be a very confusing train of thought.
Let's hear it.
Okay. We start off with this idea of, like, are we, like, is it that we have, like, the free will and autonomy, or not just, like, mindless creatures, like,
Yeah.
going around, like, fucking.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, we're able to choose, like, whether or not it is good to have children.
Yeah.
And the first thing that comes into mind is this selfish? Because are we not fulfilling our duty to, like, society, or, like, to continue the human race? And then it's also, is it unselfish? Because we are considering how to fulfill our duty to the human race by not having a child, but we think that that's going to be better for the world in general, but also that's discontinuing the human rights.
Mm-hmm.
And also, why does this, like, responsibility to continue a species, like, should that be, like, a responsibility of
I think
all?
that's so weird.
Yeah.
When people are like, oh, you're gonna end your bloodline, like, and
Like, yeah,
What does that mean? It means nothing.
It's like into
Yeah.
every, like, animal, right? You want to reproduce. Well, we learned about it in bio. You do everything to, like, reproduce, continue on your species, whatever.
yeah.
But, like, is there, like, reasoning behind, like, is it, like, better for, like, life? Are you hurting someone by not continuing your species?
I think that... Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. I think that, like... So, like, two little things. I think first, like, no animal, like, does the deed, and it's just like, oh, I hope I get babies out of this. They're just like, do it, and then they move on. If they get pregnant, they get pregnant. Like, I don't think they ever think, like, I'm continuing on the squirrel race. Because, like, they don't, like, understand that. But since we have the ability to understand, like, the processes of pregnancy, and also the ability to opt out of that, I think that we're completely exempt from that question of, like, we're inherently want to continue on our race, because there's nothing inherent about wanting to have a kid. There's just something inherent about the urge to, like, endure the process that creates that kid. Doing everything except for saying
Thank you.
Smash. But wait, I was gonna say another thing and I forgot. Come back to me. All
Yeah,
right.
I think you said like, oh, like all animals need to have. Wait, no. The only reason we see animals is because they did have sex, right? And I don't think it's the other way around. Like, animals don't have.
I'm getting a little lost here, Joy. I'm gonna be honest.
Lost in the sauce.
I don't know if I would call it that.
Something to say, but it just lost.
I remember what I was gonna say if that helps.
Yeah.
Here, I can ramble and you ramble.
Yeah.
I think it's like kind of okay, I don't want to like go crazy here, but it's kind of like a fascist sentiment to be like, we must continue on the human race.
Yeah.
Because like everybody I've heard who really goes ham about like we gotta have kids, guys, is like a fascist, and I don't know how to sugarcoat. It's like very concerning actually.
Yeah.
Because whenever I hear that sentiment, that's more than just like, oh, I want my bloodline to carry on. I think that's pretty normal. But when you're like, our country is being weakened because of these fucking transgender people, I don't know, or like these damn feminists who like don't want to have kids, and we're being weak because of that, and we're going to be taken over by a stronger country, and like our race is the superior race and we're not going to live on. Like all of these sentiments are pretty inherently intertwined, I think, with like our modern conversations surrounding childbirth.
So let me ask, that makes me think, we just talked about, you know, like wanting to have kids isn't like a primal thing, we just want to bang each other, I guess. Then where does this come from? This I think very human thing to be like, continue the human race. Like, do you think this comes from like the effect of being in a society and like, I don't know, those in power wanting to continue their power, so like pushing out that notion of like, oh, like have kids and like be a soldier and sacrifice yourself for your country and
I mean, isn't a lot of it just like, I don't know, like just like, as you said, the inherent desire to like.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. Like, isn't it also just like, I guess like simply just like natural selection? Like people who didn't want to just like aren't here today, and like the people who did want to.
No, but that's different from genetics, right? That only works in genetics. Like, oh, people with red hair suddenly decided they all didn't want to fuck. Then red hairs are removed from society because they didn't reproduce. But a mindset or like a certain ideology isn't really genetically passed down. So
no, but like without the ideology, like if we're just considering this like internal, just like biological desire, like there are certain things that make like
hormones that make you want to.
Yeah, like, and, like
Joy.
make it like an enjoyable experience, and I think that the people who did have those hormones and biological qualities were able to like pass them on, just like at a biological level. But like
that's a good point actually.
The societal and ideological, that one I do find interesting.
Oh, sorry. You go. No, you contributed
Actually,
so
the
much.
whole loyal. This is like another topic, but I think it's totally fine if we like switch things up. The whole loyalty to your nation thing weirds me out.
There's a big racial element to that too, though.
Yeah.
I think like definitely the people who are like,
Oh my god, guys, Tightness-Looseness Theory.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We gotta get Phillips on here.
We come full circle.
Literally, I think about this every day of my life.
I think
Seminar
Tightness-Looseness Theory has affected me in no way. Like,
it has irrevocably changed my
Can we,
my
for
being.
the listeners, is anybody listening to this? For the listeners, let's tell them what Tightness-Looseness Theory is.
I have a definition that I used for my world history essay.
Oh my god,
and I'm
amazing,
pulling it
Victoria.
the fuck up.
Thank you.
No, those are my UCC friends.
People walking past.
No, but they're nice people.
This is another philosophical discussion.
But yeah, like I think it's just to talk quickly. I think there's definitely a racial element of like need to like just from what I've heard, like we need to carry on the white race or like the other people. I don't want to like actually be racist on the podcast. These are not my beliefs. These are not my beliefs whatsoever. But like, it's like the other, especially
disclaimer,
like
Victoria, not racist.
I'm not racist. I think like a lot of people are like China's getting really strong. They're all like a lot of them are moving over here. And if we as white people don't like make a lot of white babies, we're gonna become China 2.0. I hear this sentiment a lot.
This is
racism.
Weird. Yeah, it's. I don't know.
It's like it doesn't mean anything. Like it
it's
means
weird because like
nothing.
what is this born out of? Tightness-Looseness Theory. It makes me think of in SAP I did gun control as like one of my topics, and I also did that like in American history, and just sort of like seeing the beliefs that like a lot of domestic terrorists have that are literally like, we need to like literally like kill black people, kill Asian people because we need to like further the white race.
Yeah.
It's like, what
Like,
the
that means
hell?
nothing.
What does, like, why?
So
Okay, do you want to do the tightness-looseness
Sure,
theory
yes, I
explanation?
have a whole little paragraph about it. The Tightness-Looseness Theory is a cultural framework which seeks to quantify the dichotomy of individualistic and collectivist thought. The arbiters of this theory, Michelle Gelfand and Jesse Harrington, shout out to them, they're really cool,
Yeah.
suggest that, that, quote, all groups have social norms but some are tighter, with strict rules and punishments for deviance, whereas others are looser, with weaker rules and more tolerance for deviance. Specifically, tight states are defined by, quote, higher levels of social stability, including lowered drug and alcohol use, lowered rates of homelessness, and lower social disorganization. However, tight states also have higher incarceration rates, greater discrimination and inequality, lower creativity, and lower happiness relative to loose states. And then if you flip that on its head, you just get the same thing for what like a loose state would be versus a tight state. Yeah.
Yeah, and that sort of is born out of like some societies. They need to be tight because they need to be tight. Fuck. They gotta be tight. They have to be like, especially. Oh yeah. Joy has to slip out, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, bro, Joy's slipping out. Okay, so it's just Victoria, Joy, and Victoria, Olivia, and I. Sorry, Olivia. Oh god, I'm the racist there. No.
I work at.
We can't say this on air.
Oh
because
yeah,
people-
don't say where you work. We're gonna dox you.
Don't dox.
Text it.
Yeah. We'll be there, and we will cause
They're
havoc.
whispering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And okay, so these tight states, it's necessary for them to be tight because often it's like, it's out of survival. We talked about in class that this is like a very important aspect of it, that in a lot of these cases, you know, it's like climate threats, you know, like maybe they have a lot of earthquakes, or maybe there's a lot of people in the area that like want to kill them, like whatever, maybe there's like tigers, yeah, there's tigers everywhere. So it's necessary for them to be strict about rules to get their shit together. Whereas loose states, often the case is that there's not a lot of climate threats. They can afford to be a loose community.
Yeah, and I think like to quote Michelle and what was his name? Jesse. They found that the tighter nations that they studied had historic levels of disease prevalence, natural disasters, invasions, and resource scarcity. Thus, through times of hardship, rigid and dictatorial regimes such as fascism are alluring due to an emphasis on collective strength and national rebirth.
Yeah, the thing is, I think about America, right? Which I often America is notoriously so fucking American. Like, just so proud of themselves. And this is a big thing we talk about in American history. It's like, what is it? Pardon?
It's like my essay on this.
Oh yeah, American exceptionalism. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Just
Whence to Hero.
Whence the Hero. Oh my god. I gotta
That's
talk
actually
about
such a good title.
my
I'm not
American
gonna lie.
history final was so fun. That was one of my favorite things I've ever written. Back on topic.
Many times when I was writing it. You saw a couple.
Pardon?
You saw a couple of times during which she cried.
Oh yeah.
She has a tendency to mumble things and then not
Yes.
just say what she like. She just like goes quiet and will not tell you what she says.
Yeah, we'll never know. I
don't
think
know,
just
like-
learning about America will do that to you. It does it to me too. Back on topic. I think it's so interesting because America is so proud of themselves. Like really, it's like no other. America, like really, like I could study America for years, and it's so interesting. There's their entire society, but like we were talking about like tightness-looseness theory. So in theory, I guess they're pretty tight, right? They have crazy incarceration rates, right? But it's weird because they're also like very individualist. They're not a
I think the
collectivist.
social norm that is very tight is that there should be looseness or something.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like a weird paradox.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. And then I wonder where that came from. Is America like notoriously like a place that's like face climate issues? No, or if you think about like origins, like Europe, that's where they came from.
History they looked at.
Yeah.
I definitely think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that the U.S. is just like the most powerful country in the world. Like they do like hold hegemony over like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is maybe just like self-pride, But I also think that another part of it is the fact that it's so geographically large and like very diverse in the people who live in different states, to the point when a common national identity and national story that everyone can invest themselves in is required to keep the country, I think, together and to keep them from just falling apart. But yeah, there are times when it changes.
I did like kind of include this in my essay, and it's sort of scratching the surface, but the idea that like with the American like people, like the people in power, like those who are like really privileged, are using this idea, and they're like keep on like building this idea of exceptionalism and like spruing it in people so that they're able to achieve their like own agendas. Call it to the Spanish-American War, which was in my essay. 1998. I'm like 60% sure. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they're interesting, but I also think that like an interesting part, I've said interesting twice, I don't know, I can't think of another synonym. An interesting part of this discussion, an intriguing part of this discussion is like the very hardline right-wing activism that's currently disseminating from America right now, from the U.S.
Let's talk about that, sure.
Yeah, and like it didn't even start with Trump. I wrote an essay about this.
It's been boiling.
It's been boiling for a while. But like the modern alt-right movement started shortly after Obama's election as like a racist backlash against his position in power. And it's only grown with time. And people like Richard Spencer, Milo Yiannopoulos, Jordan Peterson, like even Ben Shapiro, all these people have made their entire careers off of profiting from and furthering divides in the American people in terms of like how they think about culture. And whether they should be tight or loose is like a big divide between like liberal and conservative. And so it's just like, I don't know, it's just very strange. It's a strange time, but it's definitely like skewing very far to the right.
Yeah, I think it was largely, this has been put to like a hyper level, I guess, because of technology and just the emergence of insane echo chambers. Yeah. Right? Before, if let's say you lean super right wing, you'd have to find people in your area. You got to talk around with your friends, you know? That's like the like as we were talking about before, that's like the extent of your like conception of who lives around you. Yeah. Now you have access to everything all at once, and especially because of what's it called? They program it to you when you go on like
algorithms?
Because of algorithms, right? You are just good job, guys. You guys are just we're just surrounded by like our same opinions because we can agree with them. Or they give us like the very opposite of our opinions so that we can react to it and you know,
and like be mad
about it because, you know, the internet like rewards that, or the algorithm rewards that. It's, you know, it's gotten a lot more dangerous and a lot more intense, I think.
And I think like the presence of that danger at all, no matter what it does, it encourages people to tighten up, to become more tight with one another, because like there is a threat, like there's this constant threat that the internet provides, like thousands, millions of threats that we could be looking at. And I guess this ties back to the beginning of our conversation with antinatalism in general. Like we just have access to every bad thing that's ever happened, and people are going to react to it. Yeah. Come full circle.
I think like America, like specifically, is just it's so weird. Like I can't. Capitalism. Oh my god, I can have a like whole discussion about that.
I think it's just
that was my American history essay about how we need to redefine the entire system and recontextualize it. Thank you, Audre Lorde. Yeah. Oh my god, cool. She shaped my entire worldview. But just everything under the system. Fuck capitalism. Fuck our current system. I think we need a complete upheaval of it.
Anarchy?
Well, maybe not anarchy in the streets. That might be a little bit too much mean. God, I don't know what the new system would look like. I have no idea. I'm just not very happy with our current one.
Do you guys see that frog in the window?
Is there a frog? What?
It's like, it's not a real frog. It's like a stuffed frog. It's the EK frog. It was chilling on the grade 11 locker floor for like a good year. So
oh my god, it was. I would just like kick it around sometimes when I saw it on the floor.
I just stomp on it when I felt the urge.
We should take it. We should steal it back.
We should.
The frog alone.
You guys want to steal it back after this?
Which classroom is it in?
It's the math classrooms.
I wish we could just fly there.
Can we go steal it back after? Let's go steal it back.
Yeah,
after.
let's do it.
Okay.
We should just steal it entirely. Just like take it home.
Let's bring it to the GCR.
Let's discuss the philosophy of thievery.
It's good as long as no one's around to catch you.
What?
If a tree falls in a forest,
Yeah.
nobody saw you steal. Did you
Yeah.
really steal?
Exactly.
Nobody saw you pull the lever? Did you actually pull it?
Well, I guess the people in the trolley saw you, but then you'd have to kill them afterwards, to keep them silent. So then you'd just kill everyone. Or
What?
what is the trolley problem? If you don't pull the lever, then you kill the guy.
No, if you
Oh no,
if
there's
you
no
don't
one in the trolley. Sorry.
nobody in the trolley.
Everyone
Sometimes
is unconscious.
we
and
talk about
everyone
that's
is
like
affected.
that's like usually a condition. The
Mhm.
original trolley problem is like 5 people on the track, so you can switch it to kill one.
Mhm.
And I got some crazy trolley problem memes on the website. They're so funny.
Relating it back to philosophy,
Yeah.
not really,
Yeah.
but just the idea of if you can do something that's morally right, are you not only justified in doing it, but also obligated to do it?
I think it's really dangerous for me to give like a yes or a no. I think case by case basis.
Mhm.
You know, that as is for everything, depends on the context.
I mean, I like to think that we're not obligated to do anything, but at the same time, like, we don't. I think the only time in which that precedent would be universally distributed is if we had. I'm sorry. I use the maximum amount of words. I use the maximum amount of words that I possibly can at all times. It's like literally a mental illness. So, but I think the only time in which that would actually be applicable is if we didn't have empathy. I think we would only be able to access free will in a world in which none of us.
Do you guys think
possess
we're
empathy.
free agents? Do you think we have free will?
We are not free agents.
I don't think we're free agents
we are
either.
beholden to our instincts and to our emotions
I think
and
that
to our deep-rooted empathy.
Everything is going to lead to something else, even if I'm like, I just clapped right there. I thought that it was free. It was because all the factors led up to me clapping. Like,
Yeah, tabula rasa. I love you,
Yeah.
John Locke.
This also goes into consciousness, my
Oh my god.
favorite topic. I can always bring it back to consciousness.
Oh my god, we should do an episode on that. For my listeners who don't know, I'm super cool, and I did a philosophy of mind course.
Ooh, cool.
Which was super sick. I think that would be super cool if we did an episode on that. We definitely could.
Can I just like hang out in the corner? I don't really have anything to contribute, but like I
Ooh,
want
yeah,
to
you could pitch in
Yeah.
whenever you want. Philosophy of mind is like super broad though. You know, we could like focus in on like a specific theory. We could do like dualism or something. We could do like can't do machine functionalism again. I did that for my grade 10 final philosophy project, and I don't think I've had a bigger regret in my life. Biggest one.
Okay, wait,
That one.
anyways, bringing it back to free will. It's
Yeah.
like, if I have a conscious sentient being that's not affected, should I not be able to, like, make my own free decisions and then, like, change it in my mind? That's, like, not being affected by, like, someone stabbing me, so now I gotta, like, you know, jerk.
I'm
or, like,
confused.
run away or whatever. It's
Give-
okay.
can you give me an example?
Anyways.
No. There's
Olivia,
the
I
thing.
swear to God, what is the point of talking if you're just gonna like not elaborate?
I'm gonna keep elaborating. I'm just
Okay.
going, you're gonna see at the end.
You better fucking elaborate, bitch.
Fuck you.
Hopefully. Anyways, so like this idea that we have our own consciousness, like brain making decisions as to what we want to do at any point, which is like free will, right? But I don't think that our consciousness is tied enough to our physical self, or if it is tied enough to our. Wait. Oh shit, this is going back to debate. Okay. Anyway, two situations. It's either tied to our physical self or not, or it's like not. And it's also just like it's not like a one or the other. You can make it like a spectrum, and there's like
Yeah,
more
because we
possibility
genuinely
either
have
way.
zero fucking idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, so like let's consider the possibility that it is not tied to our physical body. I don't think we'd be able to have enough control over our physical self then, considering that we're having like
Yeah.
you know, if someone stabs me, I'm gonna like
Mhm.
you know, like instinctively run away. So I don't think it'd be able to have enough decision over that. So maybe we do have free will, but only in our own thoughts. Other things.
Ooh,
Let's consider
I like
that
that.
it's not like it is very, very, very much tied to our physical body,
Sure.
which I feel like I kind of like am leaning more towards. Like it's very much tied towards like our biological instincts, like how our brain is wired, like the electrical sciencey, like neurosciencey whatnot
Yeah.
is like affecting the way that our consciousness works. In that case, I think that is still definitely applied like by all the like it is still definitely affected by all the things that, you know, like everything's like blank slate, I forget the word, but like
Tabula rasa.
yeah, everything is like creating, or it's gonna like all those factors like determining what the consciousness is going to like think, and so in that case it's still like not free will.
Yeah, like,
I did elaborate, right?
that was good. That was good. Yeah.
That was good.
I said this before, but I wholly buy into like the tabula rasa thing. You know, I think, let's say you have a child, 2 children, and they experience the exact same things, and I'm saying down to the molecule.
I feel like
Okay?
we've definitely done this unethical experiment before.
If they experience the exact same thing, like time to like the millisecond, everything is the same, except for one of them, when they're like 3, you clap in their face or something, or literally anything. I think that would change their personalities drastically. I think everything just, we cannot measure the butterfly effect. Everything leads to another, and everything is just so interconnected, we'll literally never know. And because of that, I just think no free will. But, you know, like, this is the point where I'm just kind of like, and?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm always going to experience my life as a moral agent. I'm always going to be living my life under the potential illusion that I have free will. That takes priority over any argument that I might not have it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Unless you, like, really want to believe you have no free will, which is just, like, why would you do that to
But then,
yourself?
like, what are you doing in that situation? Like, you would still live your life exactly the same.
Because like even
unless
if
you just
chose
kill
to
yourself.
do, like random spontaneous things, it would still be because of like the cause and effect of like you came to like all that your life.
Okay, but let's say there
experiences.
is no free will and you believe that. I guess you could just do random shit. But why would you just do that to yourself? Why?
Mhm. What's the point?
Why? It wouldn't be more fun. Maybe it would, but then you'd get like locked up or something. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. The way that I've always seen it is just kind of like we're programmed with certain, like, I've just always thought of people as like robots, but like flesh and blood, and we die. I guess robots die
I did
too.
a debate on
But,
this.
wow, you've really done a debate on everything.
Truly.
It has covered every single topic. But I think like we're programmed from birth to have certain instincts to react. Like, we're programmed with like fucking mental illnesses and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like my dad has ADHD, I have ADHD. My grandpa has autism, I have autism. Like, very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. Yeah, but like we're just like kind of programmed to do that. And even though we're born as some sort of tabula rasa with all of that just embedded within us, it takes so much precedent that I don't think free will could ever stem from a being that was preceded with things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, they both play into it. It's like the biological things, and then also the fact that if you are an amalgamation of just literally everything that's ever happened to you, you know,
Yeah.
It's a big word.
amalgamation.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that
it.
one.
Sounds nice.
It's fun.
Do you guys have like favorite words?
Yes, I love the word esoteric.
That's a good one.
I also love the word temerarious.
I like
I hate that
isosceles,
word.
like the triangle.
Isosceles, it sounds sharp it sounds like a scissor.
Yeah.
It sounds sharp in
I
my
like
mouth,
crisp.
Isosceles.
Crisp.
This isn't a word, but I like the name Penelope. I feel like it flows.
Penelope
together
is a good
nicely.
name. I
I
like
like the
crisp
meat-
because
the
it
word
moves
meal.
from the back of your mouth to the front.
Mhm.
I don't
Crisp.
like crisp.
Crisp.
I feel like
It
I can never
feels
make
crisp.
That P, you guys know.
Crisp.
Crisp.
You don't deserve the P.
You don't deserve pee. That's why we learn inquiry. You have to like enunciate your. Enunciate is another one.
Enunciate
I
is a
like
good
the word
one.
I
enunciate.
don't like enunciate.
I like
don't
the word meal. Just like it makes me feel hungry. It's just like I want to eat.
Yeah.
It's like munch.
Now I'm just thinking of words. I'm really hungry right now.
Mealworms. Mealworms are so interesting.
I ate one once.
Imagine your entire just
That's
life just
yummy.
being because you are a meal.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
you are a meal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a stick.
We can cut it early, or we can just keep going
Yeah.
if you want.
I can talk about anything. I have so
yeah.
many words in my head and they all need to come out. You
Sure.
Get that part out.
Pick a topic. Any. Pick a
No,
topic
I'm
right
just
now.
gonna, No, I'm gonna go on my phone.
Olivia,
I'm gonna
pick a
go
topic.
on a random
Yeah.
topic generator.
Oh my god, we should do a debate topic and
Literally,
like
any
have an
debate
informal
topic is like
debate.
good for like philosophy because it's like you gotta like consider that.
That we're
Oh,
saying.
what I've talked about pretty much in every episode, so I think we could do this actually. Put your phone away. Guess what? I just dropped
Random
the topic.
generator.
No, I have a
Hey.
better one.
Kids are literally so useless these days. They're always on
Random
their phone.
word generator.
You can't even think of a topic by yourself. So embarrassing.
Your parents must be so disappointed in
You know
you.
what? I'm letting chance decide my fate. I should computer algorithm, but like whatever.
But does chance exist? Do we live in a
Sand!
deterministic universe?
No, I have a good one.
I used to be so scared of sand.
Fuck you and your sand.
Yeah.
Shut up.
When I watched
It's coarse and rough and
Amazing
irritating and it
Spider-Man
gets everywhere.
2.
Oh,
and
the
Spider-Man
sand
2,
guy!
the sand
Yo!
And that's why I was scared of sand because I saw it.
Oh my god,
when
you know my
parents went to,
earliest
like, the
memory?
brick and I watched on the TV.
The earliest memory I have, maybe not I have, but like at Havergal is me and you playing at the sandbox.
Oh, that's so nice.
My earliest memory is It wasn't with you.
Wow.
You freak! You freak!
Fucking
It was playing on the little dollhouse. Anyway,
You're so fake! You're so fake!
I do have early memories of you.
Uh-oh. No, don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to be perceived. Are you kidding me? That's so freaky.
Anyways, yeah, I watched Spider-Man 2 and there was a sand guy and I was always like really scared of like getting the sand in my like DNA and then trying to get to sand.
Did you know that like 80% of that movie's budget went to that sequence of like him transforming into sand?
That makes sense.
Fun fact. That movie was really bad. Anyway,
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 hot takes. What was your...
So my actual topic that's like relevant to this podcast, just philosophy, the philosophy field as a whole, and the trouble that a lot of people face taking philosophy and struggling with where do the real life applications come in, which is something I've been asked so much. Like every time I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I kind of want to pursue philosophy into higher education. They're like, you freak, like what are you going to do with that? What, are you going to be a philosophy major? For the record, no, I am not. At most, a minor.
You're a minor.
I am a minor. Good catch.
And you're also
I didn't
mentally
notice.
ill. Literally mentally ill and a minor.
Fuck, double whammy. I'm a mentally ill minor. Guys, I hate it here. I don't know. I think a lot of people struggle with like, when am I ever going to use philosophy? But for me personally, philosophy taught me more about anything than literally any other course ever. It taught me how to think, how to look into myself, and most of all, it gave me like it encouraged me to question myself, my own beliefs, and through that I was able to gain certain certainty in who I am. And I think that knowledge of who I am and what I want in this world is more valuable than literally anything.
Yeah, I feel like philosophy is like one of those like you wouldn't think it's like, because it seems so like higher up and like, I don't know how to say this, like higher level of like thinking. There's like up there and it's like, what do you do with it? But I feel like it's one of the more like applicable like courses, because like, I don't know, like you always think
we were
like,
just talking about this. Like last year, I didn't take philosophy last year because it's a grade 12 course. I wanted to take it in grade 12. I had the privilege of sitting in on one conversation, right? Just because I was just there to fill a seat. And I had to do a reading for it. And that singular reading formed the basis of my SAP final, my American history final, my English final. The moment after I read that piece that we were given for that discussion, I went and bought the book that the writer had wrote. Like I just think about that, right? Like I can't believe, like no offense to all my other teachers, love you guys, you guys taught me a lot, but also philosophy, that one blew my fucking mind. It reshaped my entire worldview. I have not stopped thinking about it since. And I don't know, I think like that to me was more valuable than literally anything.
I think it's because philosophy is like, it's the art of thinking and like what is most inherent to us, like, and what are we like reduced to if we like strip everything away, but the ability to like think.
Yeah, it's a lot about how to think and what questions we should be asking the world. And I feel like without that, we're pretty lost.
Also, just, like, I was like in math today. I love math. It's fun.
Ew, literally disgusting. I'm
Anyways,
horrified by you.
I like math, but like I was like sitting there today and we were like talking about like how to like, I don't know, just all the numbers, and you throw out all the complicated numbers and all the fancy systems and like with like the graphing and stuff, and it's like, where do you actually like use this? And like, yeah, you like use it in like a job or something to like figure out stuff, but like how like really how important
it's
is
weird
this?
to me because so many people come to me and they're like, you're taking philosophy, like that's so theoretical. And like, I don't know, it's like there's this impression that math is so much more tangible and math is so much more real. That seems so backwards to me. Math fucking is not real. Okay, I'm sorry, putting it out there, none of that shit exists to me. Okay, really, it's like just numbers and like weird formulas. They don't mean anything to me. The human condition, what it means to be human, our human relationships, I think that is like more real than anything, right? I think that is more important than anything. And then it's like math. I used to love math. It was so easy. I thought it was like I wanted to do math. I wanted to be a programmer for a while. I wanted to be don't laugh at me. I did want to be a programmer. I can't believe I'm putting that out into the world. That is like so embarrassing. I wanted to be a marine biologist, which
Oh, me too.
So many people wanted to.
Literally,
What is that?
And it's like, I have a theory that everybody who wanted to be I don't know if being a marine biologist changed everybody to be like a certain type of person,
Yeah.
or if a certain type of person gravitates towards marine biology.
Yeah.
But there is something wrong.
There
here.
is something.
There's something very wrong.
The same place I
took freaks me out. I don't like seaweed, and I don't like when things.
the same place I took the philosophy course, I took a marine biology course, and it was great. I really wanted to be a marine biologist, but then it was like chemistry and like biology and math, and then I did the philosophy, and I was like, this feels so much more real.
Yeah. Like, I've never been good at math because I've just never, like, been able to connect with it because I've never thought that it's real, if that makes sense. Like, I've never been able to, like, look at math as a concrete thing. It's always felt useless to me, and I know it's not actually useless, it's very important. But, and I don't want to, like, dog on math or anything, but, like, just from my conception of the universe, philosophy is so much easier for me to understand, and, like, philosophical concepts click so quickly in my brain, whereas literally a basic math concept, it'll just never pass. It'll, like, I will never understand it. Yeah.
Olivia just opened her mouth and gaped at me. Just that.
That means enough. No words were required.
Yeah. Just the open mouth.
Just an open mouth. But
breath.
literally the marine biology thing.
Marine biology thing is so
And it's like, it's
interesting.
not actually marine biologists, it's people who wanted to be marine biologists in their youth and then decided against it.
I just talked about, can I expose her? Miss Krotz.
Yeah,
I was
Miss
talking
Krotz,
to Miss Krotz.
I talked to her about marine biology too.
Yeah, she was like, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I became a teacher, and I was like, fuck, you're just like me.
Yeah, it's like people
so
who are
scary.
interested in the same things all wanted to be a marine biologist and then did not.
And
do
it's
it.
weird because I feel like we all sort of had the same energy.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's like coming from the same place.
There's something to unpack here.
Very strange.
It's really odd.
Yeah. And
Marine
it's
biology,
wild.
unironically, is so fun. And also, I think...
Did you do that boat trip?
Boat trip? There were multiple trips. It was almost like maybe once every 2 or 3 days we would go to a different...
Wait, where is this? That sounds so cool.
It was C2Y. It was like Center for Talented Youth.
Did they
It's
have
so
one where you, like,
pretentious.
lived on a boat for like 3 years.
No. I did not live on a boat for 3 years. That would be crazy.
That sounds
That
like a
would be
philosophical,
crazy.
like, experiment in itself. Like,
Yeah. No. We went to the bay like every 2 or 3 days, and we went and like fished. Not fished.
Bay.
Yeah, we did go to Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, you do know.
That's
Oh my
from the
god.
Hamilton song.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
said.
Oh my god. What's I gonna say?
Oh.
Oh.
I
But
do it well though.
even under the, I don't know. Even I feel like philosophy could be applied to like marine biology if I wanted to. I could apply philosophy to everything.
Yeah.
Math, no.
Math, no way.
I can mathematicize philosophy.
Do it for me right now.
How do you quantify the mind?
You
If I have
can.
1 mind plus 2 minds?
You have 3 minds.
Or do I have none?
You have like one. You have like half of a mind because of that little hole in your skull.
If we like tilt you the right way, will your brain just spill out? We can like shake you and your brain.
We'll pour you like a teacup. Oh my god.
We hang you upside down and put a bucket underneath.
We should do that. Oh my god, this should be my first philosophy club like event. Like we cut open your head and we just
Hanging Olivia upside.
Why don't you quantify that for me?
Yeah.
How many grams is your brain in a
No, that's
bucket?
an actual answer, which I don't know. We've actually learned it like 5 times.
Oh my god, you should just. I'm sure you could figure that out if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Measure how many grams your brain is in a bucket.
It was actually too big. That's why they had to cut my skull.
My
Dead
brain
ass.
was too big.
Yeah.
She's just way too built.
Yeah. Big brain moment, actually.
Actually, so
Galaxy
big
brain moment.
It's unreal.
They were afraid of your power. They had to cut it out.
So ridiculous. Oh my
We
god.
talk about 3, 2, 1. Distance.
It's a thing.
Distance. What is our distance right now? I'm about a meter from Olivia.
Application. What a topic.
Oh yeah, we can talk about
Applications.
applying philosophy. That is actually, I would love to hear your guys' insights on this. So philosophy club this year, our overarching theme is applications of philosophy. It's not something that we get to do as much in class, I think. It's a lot more knowledge-based because it's a class. Duh. But in philosophy club, we want to talk about how we can grapple That's also a good word.
Grapple.
It's like an apple, but if you bit into
Grapple. Yeah. Grapple.
Grapple. Grapple. Next
My
time I
favorite
bite.
sound is.
Me
Oh, you want to wait? No, this is off topic.
too. No. I have to go back to that.
No. Okay. Give me like 30 seconds.
30 seconds too much. I'm gonna talk while you look.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're focused a lot about how we can grapple with philosophy in daily life. And I think it would be super interesting to like go club to club, like look at the other ones and see like how we can find philosophy within each club. I also want to do like an episode where we go outside and we talk about like I don't care. I don't care. I'm already like self-identified philosopher. Like I'm already gonna be shunned by society.
Best is
Fuck! Society hates me. My name is Ebony Darkness, the Metro away.
Oh wait, I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
Victoria, you're always talking about the apple thing. This is how Allison eats an apple.
Stop!
Wait,
They
top
eat it
down?
from the top down, seeds and all. Or no,
I kind of like that. That's kind
No.
of like an
It's top
assertion of
down.
I
power.
promise, once you do it once, eat an apple top down, just pull out the stem, like pick out the bottom part, which is kind of gross, and then just like spit out the seeds when you get to them. It tastes so much better. People think you can't, like, it's different from just like eating an apple and then fucking biting into the core that is left over. It's different. The core is sweet. It is good. Try it out and you will never go back.
I'm
Also,
allergic
it's
to apples. They make me anaphylactic.
what? Why are you allergic to
You're
everything?
literally allergic to everything.
Olivia came over to my house and I was like, "Hey, do you want to eat this?" "No, I'm allergic." And I was like, "Why are you eating it?" She's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "What?"
I do it to spite.
Spite who? God?
Again, we don't have free will. We're allergic to things.
yeah.
We can't eat everything.
Oh yeah, as I was saying, I think it would be so fun to do like an episode like outside and talk about like horticulture and that's also a good word.
It's a big
Horticulture.
Horticulture.
It kind of sounds like a disease or like some sort of like
Horticulture. The culture of horror.
It's like they practiced horticulture in the late 1800s or something.
I love how it's like the complete opposite thing. It's just
Yeah.
plants.
I hate
No.
plants.
What? Get out.
Literally
get
get
out.
the fuck
Literally
out of here.
leave. You freak.
Go.
Everyone.
Leave with your hole in your head and get out.
I just like I don't like it.
Disgusting.
Continue with your philosophy.
Thank you. I'm well. No, I think it's just super interesting that I don't know. People are super under the impression that they're never gonna do anything with philosophy, and I don't know where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just like this view of philosophy is like this thing. That's
And I get
locked
it.
up in an ivory tower.
I also
Money.
it's also super indigestible. Philosophy is
digestible.
that's my motto.
I know.
Everything is digestible.
Which is why we have this podcast in the first place, so that we can try to like promote discussions around philosophy in a digestible and understand in a manner, in an understandable manner, because oftentimes it's like we have no idea what to do with it. Also, I guess because it's like I don't know, but yeah, I think talking about like philosophy applications is like definitely something I want to do. Do you guys have any ideas of what I could do?
What if I take
I was
a
thinking
random
about,
topic
like-
and then you try to philosophize it?
Sure, I was thinking about like doing a thing where we eat with our hands.
That'd be interesting.
I want to eat like just like get a cake. I just like
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
I wanna
at the end of the year, what I really want to do, I want to have like a philosophy dinner and we go to like there's one of my favorite like restaurants. It's called Tinuno and they have like really good Filipino food and you like eat it with your hands. And it's so delicious and I go there every day for my birthday. Not every day, every birthday.
we should go to another place where you eat with your hands is medieval times with the horses.
Can we please go to medieval
Oh
times?
my god, I actually want to
Oh
go
my
to
God.
Can we
medieval-
actually
Is this a
schedule
thing?
a trip?
Yeah, I'd be
doing
so
this.
down. Oh my god. Okay, well,
Okay, wait.
Wait,
We'll
if
do that.
Philosophy Club
Onto the
goes to
game.
medieval times, I'm signing up for Philosophy Club simply for the medieval times trip.
I could probably would Havergal fund that?
Yeah.
I think so.
I can't pay for it myself. It's like $50 per person.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. What is it? Why? Oh, we
Wait,
can
I
talk
think
about like
clubs
medieval
have
things, like
budgets,
actual.
right?
I
We
think
can,
it's actually $50 though for the club. If you're like a Tuesday club, it's like a $50 budget.
Oh.
I'm sure I could like.
Unless you go to like a competition or something, but you could like.
No, I'm sure I could go to the school and be like, "Hey, can you help me pay for this?" If I have like a tangible reason.
Yeah.
Which is medieval philosophy is really interesting.
Mhm.
I had a dream, like a medieval dream.
I always have medieval dreams. I love the.
Like set in the medieval times or like around medieval like philosophical framework?
I don't know.
I feel like you two were definitely
In the
my
medieval
dream
times.
yesterday, but I can't remember.
Oh, that's actually such a compliment.
Well, sometimes like I have people
Oh my
that think they're trying to
God.
like murder me, but
You
But
be
it's
thinking
still
about
common
me?
because I'm like on your mind, you know?
I had a
important.
dream that someone at school was trying to kill me. I'm not gonna drop names, but I was like running through the school and they were trying to kill me.
Whisper it. Oh, that honestly, no, I could really see
Yeah.
that.
I had a dream where
I'm genuinely afraid of that.
I actually like love her in like real life, but I had a dream where like she kept trying to like stab me.
Wait, who?
It's fine, I'll tell you later.
No, okay.
I actually like her. I
Literally
actually
just-
like her. in
She's
real life
never
now.
gonna tell you.
I don't
She's
know
never
why,
gonna
but
tell you.
just,
Literally
like,
never
she's
gonna
just,
tell
like, literally like backstabbing me in the dream now.
That's
Where, like,
crazy.
literally just,
That
like,
is-
stabs
The world
me.
is telling you
Yeah.
something.
We had that one dream
Don't
where
trust
on
her.
the same night, what was it? I dreamed that there was this. I think it was the same dream actually, with the other person stabbing me. But there was this like caterpillar.
Yeah.
And it was like tied to this other like person.
Yeah.
But we tried to kill the caterpillar, and the caterpillar just wouldn't die. And then you had the dream the same night that you were on the bus and someone was trying to kill you.
I did have that
Maybe
dream.
you were the
Yeah.
caterpillar in the bus. And the
Olivia
bus was the
fucking out for me.
caterpillar.
Olivia actually out for me.
I hate caterpillars. They creep me out.
I love medieval times. Oh my
Yes.
god, their corn changed my life.
Just eating that like
Good
what is
corn.
it? That like just chicken just like raw with you.
It's so good.
Such a, like,
Such a
visceral
primal experience.
I want to go and just like lose our minds. And, like, I think it would be so fun.
Medieval times has a little like room where they have a bunch of torture devices, and we had to walk through it at like
Yeah, I
the
remember
ripe old
that.
age of grade 4, and it really instigated like a many-year hyperfixation. on
Me
medieval
too.
torture.
I'm still into that. I still look at that shit.
I still am obsessed with medieval torture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I think that Game of Thrones would like actually scar me. Like I watched every single.
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh my god, how far in are you?
All the way.
You finished it?
multiple
Yeah.
times.
Oh my god! I love Game of Thrones. That's literally why I had medieval dreams. I've been thinking about it so much. Also because
Did
of
you
that
watch the new one?
the new show. No, I don't have time. I
Okay.
really want to. I've been seeing so many TikToks of it.
It's like it's also kind of messed up.
It's all messed up.
But
Are you kidding me? They're all messed up. No, but I don't know. It's kind of weird because what's it called again? What show were we just talking about? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Like sometimes I watch it and I'm like, oh my god, the poor woman.
No,
Yeah.
Like the way they portray women is really weird.
It's just
Yeah.
like it's a red flag that every single male high fantasy author just their fantasy world is one where women are just horrifically treated, just like degraded.
Yeah.
Like
This is why you should read Brandon Sanderson. It's actually good.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard good things
true.
about Brandon Sanderson, Brandy. But then like the
Brady
female
Sandy?
authors also just like why? What are you doing? Like
That's real.
emancipate yourself. You know what I mean?
For real. Oh my god.
That's a big word.
Okay, well, it is nearing our time. I gotta go. I got a dinner, but
On a motor.
thank you, listeners, for
We're
listening to us
restaurant.
ramble.
Mhm. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, this was.
Listeners.
I like this. This was fun. We
Mhm.
will
It
maybe
was
do this
fun.
again. We could do like philosophy minor or something.
Medieval times.
Medieval times.
And we're gonna record it.
Yeah, and we're gonna go
Yeah.
grab a frog right now.
Yeah.
So thanks
We're
for tuning in,
gonna steal
guys.
that frog.
I will see you next time. I should be doing an episode on justice, or it will be a part 2 with Andrea, which will be super interesting. Listen to episode 3. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye. Say bye, guys.
Bye.